Did you know that in many ancient traditions, it was believed that you right now are the prize in an invisible cosmic conflict with forces vying for influence over your very thoughts and decisions? This isn't just folklore. For billions across the globe, the concept of a spiritual battle isn't a metaphor, but a daily, palpable reality. It's a war fought not with bullets and bombs, but in the silent chambers of the mind, in the subtle shifts of emotion, and in the grand tapestry of human history itself. We often navigate our lives focused solely on the tangible, the bills, the careers, the relationships we can see and touch. Yet, what if beneath this visible world, an unseen drama unfolds, a relentless push and pull between forces that shape our destinies more profoundly than we dare to imagine? From the earliest cave paintings to the most sophisticated philosophical treatises, humanity has grappled with the idea of unseen entities, both benevolent and malevolent. These aren't just quaint stories. They are foundational pillars of belief systems that have guided civilizations for millennia. Consider the ancient Sumerians, one of the earliest known civilizations. Their cuneiform tablets speak of a pantheon of gods and goddesses, but also of powerful demons and spirits that could inflict disease, misfortune, and mental torment. Rituals and incantations weren't just prayers, they were considered vital defenses in an ongoing spiritual skirmish, designed to appease the divine and repel malevolent influences that threatened their well being and prosperity. Their entire worldview was imbued with the understanding that unseen forces were constantly at play, directly impacting their daily lives. Moving eastward, the intricate philosophies of ancient Egypt present a similar cosmic understanding. Their afterlife beliefs, meticulously documented in texts like the Book of the Dead, describe a perilous journey through the Duat, fraught with challenges posed by various spiritual adversaries. Pharaohs and commoners alike sought favor from protective deities and engaged in elaborate funeral rites to ensure a safe passage, believing that their very soul was a pawn in a grander celestial game. The struggle between order Ma'at and chaos Isfet was not merely an abstract concept. It was a living, breathing conflict, echoing through their temples, their tombs, and their daily rituals. In the Zoroastrian tradition, one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions, the cosmic battle is even more starkly defined. Ahura Mazda, the benevolent creator, stands in eternal opposition to Angra Mainyu, the destructive spirit. Humanity, in this view, is caught in the middle, endowed with free will to choose between truth and falsehood, good and evil. Every thought, word, and deed contributes to one side or the other, making every individual decision a crucial skirmish in this vast spiritual war. This dualistic struggle isn't a hidden undercurrent. It's the very fabric of existence, a dramatic stage upon which human life unfolds. These ancient perspectives weren't just fanciful tales. They provided a framework for understanding suffering, injustice, and the inherent struggles of life. If a crop failed, if a loved one fell ill, or if society faced turmoil, these events were often interpreted not as random occurrences, but as manifestations of spiritual forces at work. This worldview imbued life with profound meaning, suggesting that every action had a consequence, not just in the visible world, but in the invisible one as well. As civilizations evolved, so too did these narratives of unseen conflict. The Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all share a fundamental belief in a spiritual realm populated by angels and demons, forces of good and evil engaged in a profound, ongoing struggle. This struggle isn't relegated to some distant, abstract plane. It is believed to directly influence human affairs, from personal temptations to global conflicts. In the Jewish tradition, while emphasis is primarily on God's omnipotence, there are clear references to spiritual adversaries. The concept of the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is often understood not merely as an internal psychological flaw, but as an external force that tempts and misleads. Though not personified in the same way as in Christianity, there are narratives in rabbinic literature that speak of demonic entities and destructive angels who challenge humanity and seek to thwart divine will. These narratives reinforce the idea that life is a constant test, a series of choices influenced by competing spiritual pressures. Christianity, perhaps more than any other major religion, explicitly details a highly organized spiritual warfare. The New Testament, particularly the epistles of Paul, paints a vivid picture of believers engaging in a battle, not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. This isn't mere symbolic language. It's presented as a literal, ongoing conflict with intelligent, malevolent entities seeking to deceive, oppress, and destroy humanity. The figure of Satan, or the devil, is portrayed as the chief adversary, a fallen angel leading a host of demons, actively working against God's plan for humanity. Temptations, doubts, fears, and destructive patterns of thought are often attributed to these unseen forces. Prayer, fasting, spiritual disciplines, and reliance on divine intervention are presented as essential weapons in this unseen war. The stakes are portrayed as eternal: the salvation or damnation of souls, the triumph of good over evil, and the ultimate establishment of God's kingdom. Islam also shares a rich tapestry of spiritual warfare concepts. The Quran speaks of jinn, intelligent beings created from smokeless fire, some of whom are believers, Muslim jinn, and others who are not, shayatin, or devils. Iblis, similar to the Christian Satan, is a jinn who refused to bow to Adam and was expelled from paradise, becoming the chief tempter and adversary of humanity. These shayatin are believed to whisper doubts, incite discord, and lead people astray from the path of Allah. The fight against these whispers, against the waswas of shaitan, is a crucial part of a Muslim's spiritual journey, emphasizing constant mindfulness and seeking refuge in God. These religious frameworks, while distinct, share a common thread: the conviction that there is more to reality than meets the eye, and that human existence is inextricably linked to an ongoing struggle between transcendent forces. This isn't just a matter of faith. For billions, it offers a coherent explanation for the seemingly inexplicable aspects of life: the persistent presence of evil, the struggle to do good, the sudden shifts in personal temperament, and the enduring human condition of striving against internal and external adversities. But what about beyond explicit religious doctrines? Do other disciplines or less formalized spiritual paths acknowledge this unseen conflict? In many indigenous spiritualities, the concept of spirits, both benevolent and malevolent, is deeply ingrained. Shamans and spiritual healers often act as intermediaries, engaging with these spirits to bring healing, guidance, or protection to their communities. Illness, misfortune, or social strife are frequently attributed to malevolent spirits, curses, or imbalances in the spiritual ecosystem, necessitating specific rituals and interventions to restore harmony. The entire universe is seen as alive, permeated by a vast network of conscious energies and entities that can be influenced and interacted with. Even in more secular or philosophical contexts, the idea of an internal struggle often echoes these spiritual battlegrounds. Psychologists speak of the conflict between our conscious desires and our subconscious drives, between our higher aspirations and our baser instincts. While not explicitly spiritual, this internal dynamic can feel very much like a personal war, a constant negotiation between competing impulses that shape our character and our choices. Carl Jung's concepts of the shadow self, the collective unconscious, and archetypes suggest powerful unseen forces at play within the human psyche, influencing our behavior and our perception of reality in profound ways. These psychological battles, though internalized, often bear striking resemblances to the ancient spiritual narratives of good versus evil within the individual. So if this unseen war is indeed a reality, how does it manifest in our modern lives? Where might we discern its subtle fingerprints amidst the clamor of the 21st century? It's easy to dismiss such notions as archaic superstition, unsuitable for our scientific age. Yet, if we look closely, some patterns emerge that perhaps transcend mere coincidence or psychological explanation. Consider the pervasive sense of unrest and anxiety that seems to plague modern society. Despite unprecedented technological advancements and material comfort in many parts of the world, there's a deep undercurrent of dissatisfaction, division, and despair. Could this be more than just social malaise? Could it be a symptom of a deeper spiritual disturbance? The rapid spread of misinformation, the polarization of opinions, the increasing difficulty in finding common ground, and the surge in mental health crises might, from a spiritual perspective, be viewed as manifestations of a concerted effort to sow discord, confusion, and hopelessness. Think about the subtle whispers of doubt that can creep into your mind when you're pursuing a noble goal, or the sudden surge of anger that threatens to derail a conversation with a loved one, or the persistent temptation to engage in behaviors you know are detrimental despite your best intentions. From a spiritual perspective, these aren't just random thoughts or impulses. They can be interpreted as strategic attacks designed to weaken resolve, foster division, and push individuals away from their higher purpose. The constant barrage of negativity, fear, and cynicism in media and popular culture might also be seen through this lens, contributing to a pervasive atmosphere that makes spiritual growth and peace more challenging. But this unseen war is not only about individual struggles, it's also believed to play out on a grander societal scale. Throughout history, epochs of great spiritual awakening have often been met with periods of intense opposition, persecution, and social upheaval. Conversely, times of spiritual decline and moral decay have often coincided with widespread chaos and suffering. Could these historical patterns be interpreted as reflections of a larger cosmic struggle for influence over humanity's collective destiny? Consider the rise and fall of empires. While political and economic factors are undeniably crucial, some spiritual perspectives suggest that these shifts are also influenced by unseen forces. Empires built on justice, compassion, and divine principles are believed to prosper, while those steeped in oppression, greed, and moral corruption are destined for decline, not just due to internal pressures, but also due to a spiritual withdrawal of favor or even active opposition from forces of good. This dramatic lens offers a different way to view the ebb and flow of human civilization, not just as a random series of events, but as a dynamic interplay between visible actions and invisible influences. The concept of a spiritual battle also compels us to examine the very nature of evil. Is evil merely the absence of good, a byproduct of human imperfection, or is it an active, intelligent force? Many spiritual traditions firmly assert the latter, suggesting that evil is not passive, but possesses agency, intent, and a strategy to undermine, corrupt, and destroy. This makes the battle not just against our own flawed nature, but against a cunning, external adversary. This adversary, whether personified as Satan, Iblis, or a host of negative entities, is often depicted as a master of deception. It rarely appears overtly menacing, but rather in guises that are appealing, logical, or seemingly innocuous. It offers shortcuts, rationalizations, and justifications for actions that ultimately lead away from truth, integrity, and love. The spiritual battlefield then becomes a place of discernment, where one must constantly question motives, challenge assumptions, and seek clarity amidst a fog of illusions. For those who believe in this unseen war, the implications are profound. It means that prayer isn't just a request, but a powerful act of engagement. Meditation isn't just relaxation, but a means of attuning to higher frequencies. Acts of kindness, forgiveness, and selfless service are not merely ethical choices, but strategic victories in the cosmic conflict. So, how does one arm themselves for this unseen war if indeed it is raging? The weapons are not material, but spiritual and ethical. Faith, often described as a shield, provides protection against doubt and fear. Righteousness, like a breastplate, guards the heart and integrity. Peace, like shoes, grounds one in stability and purpose. And the Word of God, or sacred texts, becomes a guiding light and a source of power. These metaphorical weapons are not passive. They require active cultivation. Faith must be practiced, truth must be sought and spoken, righteousness must be lived, and peace must be embraced even in tumultuous times. It's an ongoing discipline, a commitment to aligning oneself with what is good, true, and noble in the face of constant pressure to do otherwise. Discernment is perhaps one of the most crucial tools. In a world saturated with information and competing ideologies, distinguishing between truth and deception, genuine inspiration and manipulative influence becomes paramount. This requires stillness, reflection, and an honest examination of one's own motives and biases. It involves cultivating an inner compass that can detect the subtle vibrations of different spiritual forces, recognizing what elevates and what diminishes. This discernment isn't about magical powers. It's about developing spiritual sensitivity, akin to a finely tuned that can detect frequencies beyond the normal range of human perception. Community also plays a vital role in this spiritual battle. Just as soldiers fight together, spiritual traditions emphasize the importance of fellowship, mutual support, and collective worship. When individuals unite with a common purpose, sharing their strengths and vulnerabilities, they create a powerful bulwark against isolating and divisive forces. The shared wisdom, encouragement, and accountability within a community can provide the strength needed to persevere when individual resolve wavers. This collective energy is believed to amplify prayers, meditations, and positive intentions, creating a more potent force for good in the world. Moreover, the battle is not just defensive, it is also offensive. This doesn't mean waging physical war in the name of religion, but rather actively promoting goodness, light, and compassion in a world often overshadowed by negativity. Every act of kindness, every moment of genuine connection, every decision to forgive rather than resent is a small but significant victory in this grand, unseen war. It's about radiating light into the darkness, transforming negative energies through positive action. Consider the power of forgiveness. When we hold on to resentment, anger, or bitterness, we inadvertently give power to negative forces, allowing them to fester within us and influence our interactions. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is a radical act of liberation. It breaks cycles of negativity, releases the hold of past hurts, and opens the door for healing and reconciliation. From a spiritual perspective, forgiveness is a potent weapon, disarming the very mechanisms that thrive on discord and separation. It's an act of conscious choice that shifts energy both within ourselves and in our relationships. The human mind itself is often considered the primary battleground. Thoughts are not just fleeting impulses. They are believed to be powerful seeds that can grow into actions, habits, and character. Negative, self-defeating thoughts, or thoughts that incite hatred and division, are often viewed as inroads from malevolent spiritual influences. Conversely, cultivating positive, uplifting, and compassionate thoughts creates a fortress against such intrusions, filling the mind with light and resilience. This mental discipline, often emphasized in various spiritual practices, is about consciously choosing what to focus on, recognizing that where attention goes, energy flows. The discipline of prayer and meditation for many is the direct engagement with the unseen realm. Prayer, whether spoken aloud or held silently in the heart, is seen as a direct line of communication with benevolent spiritual forces or with the divine itself. It's a way to seek guidance, protection, and strength, and to express gratitude and devotion. Meditation, on the other hand, is often a practice of quieting the mind, observing thoughts without attachment, and opening oneself to higher consciousness or spiritual wisdom. Both are considered essential for maintaining spiritual equilibrium and for receiving divine assistance in the ongoing battle. While the concept of spiritual warfare can sound dramatic, even intimidating, it also offers a profound sense of empowerment. If there are forces actively seeking to undermine us, then there are also benevolent forces ready to assist. If there is darkness, there is also an abundance of light. The choice ultimately lies with the individual to remain unaware and potentially susceptible, or to awaken to this unseen reality and actively participate in shaping one's own destiny and the destiny of the world. This awareness shifts one from being a passive victim of circumstance to an active participant in a cosmic drama, endowed with the agency to choose their allegiance and influence the outcome. The very existence of suffering and evil in the world, in a spiritual context, can be seen as proof of this ongoing battle. If the world were simply a harmonious place governed by a benevolent creator without opposition, then injustice, cruelty, and unnecessary pain would be inexplicable. But if there is an active force of opposition, constantly striving to thwart goodness and sow chaos, then suffering becomes a tragic, yet understandable consequence of this conflict. This perspective doesn't diminish the pain, but it provides a framework for understanding it, and more importantly, for understanding how to respond to it. It compels us not just to endure suffering, but to actively work to alleviate it, seeing it as a manifestation of the spiritual battle that needs to be countered with love and light. Ultimately, whether one interprets spiritual battle literally or metaphorically, the underlying principles remain remarkably consistent across cultures and belief systems. It is an invitation to acknowledge the unseen dimensions of existence, to recognize the profound influence of our thoughts and intentions, and to consciously choose to align ourselves with forces of good, compassion, and truth. It's a call to wakefulness, to live with intention, and to recognize that our individual lives are not isolated incidents, but integral parts of a larger, ongoing narrative. The spiritual war, then, is not some distant, abstract conflict fought by angels and demons in a realm far removed from our daily lives. It is a profoundly intimate battle, waged moment by moment within the human heart and mind. It manifests in the choices we make, the words we speak, the attitudes we cultivate, and the intentions that guide our actions. It is the struggle to overcome our own shadows, to resist the allure of negativity, and to consistently choose the path of love, integrity, and service, even when it is difficult. Conversely, every indulgence in hatred, every embrace of falsehood, and every descent into cynicism represents a setback. The stakes are immense, not just for personal well-being, but for the collective future of humanity. The spiritual battle around you right now is not just happening to you, it is happening through you, making you a crucial participant in a story far grander than you can ever fully perceive. The question isn't whether the battle exists, but on which side will you choose to fight, and with what weapons will you arm your spirit? The choice, as always, is yours. The choice, as always, is yours. But beyond the personal and the philosophical, how does the spiritual war manifest on a global scale? How do these unseen currents shape the very architecture of our societies, influencing grand narratives and historical trajectories? If we accept the premise that invisible forces are at play, then their influence would extend far beyond individual hearts, subtly steering the collective consciousness, shaping institutions, and orchestrating events that appear on the surface to be purely secular or political. Consider the pervasive nature of systems that seem inherently designed to disempower, to divide, or to distract. From the economic structures that often prioritize profit over people, to the political machinations that thrive on polarization, to the entertainment industries that frequently normalize superficiality and cynicism, could these be more than just human flaws? Think about the relentless pressure to conform, to chase fleeting trends, to define our worth by material possessions or external validation. This constant outward pull, this insistent clamor for attention and approval, subtly diverts focus from the rich inner life, from the profound wisdom that often lies buried beneath the noise. It creates a fertile ground for spiritual complacency, where the urgent pursuit of the ephemeral overshadows the eternal. This isn't necessarily a malicious conspiracy of humans, but rather an environment where certain spiritual forces might thrive, using the levers of human desire and societal pressure to their advantage. The very concept of progress in the modern era is worth examining through this lens. While technological and scientific advancements have brought immense benefits, they have also, at times, led to a devaluing of the spiritual, the intuitive, and the sacred. The insistence on purely empirical evidence, while crucial for scientific discovery, can inadvertently dismiss realms of experience that defy conventional measurement. This intellectual paradigm, while powerful, can inadvertently create blind spots, making us less aware of the very spiritual forces we are discussing. It's a subtle form of spiritual warfare, not through overt attack, but through the quiet erosion of belief, the gentle nudging towards a purely materialistic worldview where the unseen has no place. This erosion isn't always aggressive. Sometimes it's simply a profound sense of emptiness that material abundance fails to fill. It's the wealth of information, yet a scarcity of wisdom. These collective anxieties and discontents, if viewed through the spiritual lens, are not just sociological phenomena, but symptoms of a spiritual hunger, a longing for meaning that the purely material world cannot satisfy. And where genuine meaning is absent, voids are created, which, in the context of spiritual warfare, can be filled by less benevolent influences. So, what does this mean for those who find themselves caught in the middle of this cosmic struggle, often unknowingly? To understand that there is more than meets the eye, to acknowledge the possibility of invisible influences is the first step towards empowerment. It allows us to question the narratives we are fed, to challenge the assumptions that govern our lives, and to consciously seek out sources of light and truth. This awareness cultivates a crucial spiritual discipline, mindfulness. Not just mindfulness in the sense of present moment awareness, but mindfulness of the spiritual currents at play. It means paying attention to the subtle shifts in our own energy, the sudden onset of negative thoughts, the inexplicable impulses that seem to steer us off course. It means becoming attuned to the spiritual atmosphere of places, people, and events, recognizing where light is present and where darkness may be seeking an opening. For example, when confronted with a situation that evokes intense anger or fear, a mindful individual might pause and ask, "Is this emotion truly mine, or is there an external influence attempting to stir discord within me?" This isn't about paranoia, but about discernment, a conscious effort to separate genuine intuition from manipulative suggestion, to distinguish between a healthy emotional response and a spiritually hijacked reaction. The spiritual warrior, then, is not someone who wields a literal sword, but someone who cultivates a keen inner sense, a refined spiritual palate that can taste the flavor of different energies. They learn to recognize the subtle difference between genuine inspiration that uplifts and expands and deceptive whispers that lead to contraction, fear, or self-sabotage. This inner training requires discipline, silence, and a willingness to confront one's own internal landscape. Furthermore, the concept of spiritual hygiene becomes paramount. Just as we bathe our bodies and cleanse our homes, we must also cleanse our minds and spirits. This involves consciously choosing what we consume, the media we watch, the music we listen to, the conversations we engage in, and even the thoughts we entertain. If we fill our inner world with negativity, fear, and cynicism, we become more susceptible to influences that thrive on such energies. Conversely, by consciously choosing uplifting, inspiring, and truthful inputs, we fortify our spiritual defenses. This extends to the people we surround ourselves with. While compassion and understanding are vital, there are times when we must establish healthy boundaries with individuals or groups who consistently drain our energy, undermine our values, or propagate negativity. This isn't about judgment, but about self-preservation and strategic engagement in the unseen battle. Negative influences can spread contagiously, and maintaining a clear, positive, energetic field often requires thoughtful choices about our associations. The practice of blessing is another powerful, yet often overlooked spiritual tool. To bless a person, a place, or a situation is to consciously invoke benevolent spiritual forces to imbue it with light, peace, and protection. This isn't just a quaint religious custom. It's seen as an active deployment of positive spiritual energy, a counterforce against any negative influences. Whether it's blessing your home, your food, your loved ones, or even those who challenge you, it's an act of conscious intention that shifts the spiritual dynamic. The importance of sacred space also comes into focus. This isn't necessarily about grand cathedrals or temples, but about creating pockets of sanctuary in our daily lives. A quiet corner for meditation, a natural spot in nature where we feel connected, or even a moment of silent prayer in a bustling day. These are all ways to establish a spiritual anchor, a place where the clamor of the world recedes and we can reconnect with higher frequencies. These spaces, whether physical or mental, become crucial refueling stations in the midst of the ongoing spiritual journey. Moreover, the spiritual battle is often fought not in dramatic confrontations, but in the mundane, in the seemingly insignificant decisions of everyday life. The choice to respond with patience instead of anger, to offer a kind word instead of a sharp retort, to act with integrity even when no one is watching. These are the countless small victories that collectively shape our character and our destiny. Each such choice, from a spiritual perspective, strengthens the forces of light and weakens the grip of darkness, both within ourselves and in the world around us. The concept of collective consciousness takes on immense significance in this framework. If individual thoughts and intentions possess spiritual weight, then the collective thoughts and intentions of humanity create a powerful energetic field that can either attract light or darkness. When large groups of people unite in fear, hatred, or division, they unwittingly amplify negative spiritual currents. Conversely, when communities come together in love, compassion, and shared purpose, they generate a powerful resonance that can uplift and transform. This suggests that societal trends, revolutions, and movements are not just social phenomena, but also reflections of deeper spiritual currents at play. Consider movements for social justice, environmental protection, or global peace. From a spiritual perspective, these aren't just political or ethical endeavors. They are manifestations of humanity's higher self, responses to the divine impulse towards truth, justice, and harmony. They are collective acts of resistance against forces that seek to oppress, exploit, and divide. Every individual who contributes to such a movement, no matter how small their role, becomes a participant in the larger spiritual battle for the soul of humanity. However, recognizing this larger battle also means acknowledging the subtle ways in which negative forces attempt to infiltrate and corrupt even the most noble of causes. Idealistic movements can sometimes be hijacked by ego, fueled by self-righteousness, or descend into divisiveness. This is where discernment becomes crucial, not just in recognizing external attacks, but in guarding against internal corruption, ensuring that the means truly align with the ends, and that the motivations remain pure. The greatest defense, therefore, isn't just a list of practices or beliefs, but a profound and unwavering commitment to love. Many spiritual traditions assert that love is the most potent force in the universe, an energy that dissolves darkness, heals wounds, and transcends all divisions. When we operate from a place of genuine, unconditional love for ourselves, for others, and for the divine, we become conduits for light, rendering ourselves impervious to the insidious whispers of fear, hatred, and despair. This love is not passive sentimentality. It is an active, courageous choice. It's the decision to see the divine spark in every individual, even those who challenge or hurt us. It's the willingness to extend compassion to those who seem least deserving. It's the commitment to forgiveness, even when it feels impossible. This radical love, from a spiritual perspective, is the ultimate weapon, the unbreakable shield, and the purest expression of allegiance to the forces of good. It's an energy that literally transforms the battlefield. Furthermore, the spiritual war is intimately tied to the concept of evolution. Not just biological evolution, but spiritual evolution. The challenges and conflicts we face, both individually and globally, can be seen as catalysts for this growth, forcing us to confront our shadows, to expand our awareness, and to choose a higher path. The spiritual battle, in this sense, is not just a fight against something, but a struggle for something, for the realization of our highest potential, for the manifestation of heaven on earth. This journey of evolution is rarely linear. The spiritual adversaries in this view are not merely external enemies, but also internal tests designed to refine our character, strengthen our resolve, and deepen our faith. They highlight our vulnerabilities, pushing us to seek greater wisdom and resilience. Thus, even the experience of adversity, when viewed through a spiritual lens, can be transformed from a source of despair into an opportunity for growth and profound transformation. The understanding of this spiritual battle also offers a compelling explanation for the phenomenon of synchronicity or meaningful coincidences. What might appear as random chance to a purely materialistic mind could, in a spiritual context, be interpreted as subtle guidance, interventions from benevolent forces, or even strategic maneuvers within the unseen conflict. A book falling open to a relevant page, a chance encounter that provides crucial insight, an unexpected opportunity that aligns with one's higher purpose. These could be seen as moments where the veil between the visible and invisible thins, offering glimpses of the profound orchestration at play. In a world often designed to emphasize lack, complaint, and dissatisfaction, the conscious practice of gratitude shifts our focus towards abundance, blessing, and appreciation. It opens our hearts to receive more goodness and creates a high vibrational frequency that acts as a repellent to lower, darker energies. Gratitude, in essence, is an act of spiritual alignment, acknowledging the benevolent aspects of existence and strengthening our connection to them. Ultimately, the narrative of a spiritual battle calls us to a deeper level of responsibility. If our choices and intentions genuinely contribute to a cosmic conflict, then we are not passive observers in life, but active co-creators of reality. This realization imbues every moment with profound significance. It means that neglecting our spiritual development, succumbing to cynicism, or allowing ourselves to be manipulated by fear has consequences far beyond our immediate experience. Conversely, embracing our spiritual agency, striving for integrity, and radiating love has reverberations that extend into the unseen realms, contributing to the triumph of light. This perspective challenges the very notion of helplessness. While global problems can seem overwhelming and individual struggles can feel isolating, the understanding of a spiritual battle reminds us that we are never truly alone. There are always forces of good ready to assist, an inner reservoir of strength to draw upon, and a profound purpose to guide our actions. It transforms despair into determination and cynicism into courage. The spiritual war, therefore, is an invitation to heroism. Not the heroism of physical prowess or worldly conquest, but the quiet, persistent heroism of the heart and mind. It is the courage to stand for truth in an age of deception, to embody compassion in a world of cruelty, and to maintain hope in the face of despair. It is the heroism of unwavering spiritual integrity, of choosing to align with the highest good, even when the path is arduous and the opposition seems formidable. This is not a battle to be won through aggression or domination, but through transformation and unwavering love. It is about transforming darkness with light, fear with faith, and hatred with compassion. It's a continuous process of purification, both individually and collectively, constantly refining our alignment with the divine. The victory in this spiritual war is not the annihilation of an enemy, but the awakening of consciousness, the realization of unity, and the ultimate triumph of love over all that seeks to diminish it. The very air we breathe, the ground beneath our feet, the fabric of our thoughts and emotions, all are part of this living, breathing battlefield. And you, in your unique existence, are not just an observer, but a vital player. Your consciousness is a beacon, your choices are weapons, and your intentions ripple out into the unseen. The question then becomes, how will you choose to illuminate your corner of the cosmos? And what spiritual legacy will you forge in this grand, eternal struggle? The journey isn't just about survival. It's about active participation in the unfolding of a divine plan, contributing your unique light to the ultimate victory of goodness and truth. The world, both seen and unseen, awaits your conscious engagement. The world, both seen and unseen, awaits your conscious engagement. So let us delve deeper into the actionable steps, the daily disciplines, and the profound shifts in perspective that empower us to not merely survive this spiritual war, but to actively thrive within it, becoming agents of transformation in a world yearning for light. One of the most insidious tactics of the forces of spiritual opposition is to isolate us. This isolation is a spiritual trap, severing us from the collective strength, wisdom, and comfort that community provides. Therefore, actively seeking and cultivating conscious community, groups of individuals who share a commitment to spiritual growth, truth, and compassion, becomes an act of profound resistance. This isn't just about belonging, it's about strategic alignment. When individuals gather with pure intention, their combined energies create a synergistic field, amplifying prayer, meditation, and positive intentions exponentially. It's a spiritual bulwark, a haven where discernment is sharpened, burdens are shared, and the path ahead is illuminated by many lamps instead of just one. In these communities, the practice of witnessing takes on vital importance. To witness another's struggle, to truly listen without judgment, and to offer unconditional support is to participate in their spiritual healing. It's an act of love that disarms the isolating power of shame and fear, reinforcing the truth that no one walks this path entirely alone. This mutual witnessing creates a collective strength, a shared spiritual immune system, making the community more resilient to external pressures and internal discord. Beyond formalized communities, the spiritual battle calls us to extend this sense of kinship to all of humanity, recognizing the inherent divinity in every soul, regardless of their current actions or beliefs. This is perhaps one of the most challenging, yet ultimately most powerful acts of spiritual warfare, to project love and compassion even towards those who seem to embody the very forces of darkness we seek to oppose. This isn't about condoning harmful behavior, but about acknowledging the potential for light within every being, refusing to demonize, and thereby denying negative forces the power that thrives on hatred and division. It's a radical act of empathy that seeks to transmute darkness rather than merely fight against it. This leads us to the power of empathy itself as a spiritual weapon. Empathy allows us to step outside our own ego-driven perspectives and connect with the suffering of others. In a world increasingly fragmented by tribalism and self-interest, the ability to genuinely feel with another, to understand their pain and joy, is a bridge builder against forces that seek to polarize and separate. Empathy dissolves the illusion of separation, revealing our interconnectedness, which is a fundamental truth that benevolent spiritual forces embody and promote. Cultivating empathy means actively listening, suspending judgment, and seeking common ground, even in the face of profound differences. It's a conscious decision to choose connection over conflict. Another crucial arena for this unseen conflict is the realm of creativity. Our innate human capacity to create, whether it's art, music, writing, innovative solutions, or simply a beautifully prepared meal, is a reflection of the divine creative force within us. When we engage in acts of creation, especially those that come from a place of inspiration and love, we are actively channeling light into the world. Conversely, forces of darkness often seek to stifle creativity, to foster self-doubt, perfectionism, or cynicism, thereby cutting off this vital conduit for divine expression. To pursue one's creative impulses, to manifest beauty and truth in any form, is therefore a powerful act of spiritual defiance, a declaration that light will not be extinguished. The spiritual war also manifests in the ongoing struggle for truth and justice. In an era saturated with alternative facts and carefully constructed narratives designed to mislead, the unwavering commitment to seeking, speaking, and upholding truth becomes an act of profound spiritual courage. This isn't just about intellectual honesty, it's about aligning with a fundamental cosmic principle. Truth, in a spiritual sense, is not relative. It is an intrinsic quality of the divine, a beacon that guides us towards clarity and authenticity. To champion justice, to advocate for the voiceless, and to challenge oppressive systems is to actively participate in the rectification of imbalances that negative forces thrive upon. It's about ensuring that the scales of existence tip towards righteousness, mirroring the divine order. This unwavering commitment to truth extends to our relationship with knowledge itself. While skepticism is healthy, a pervasive cynicism that dismisses all spiritual or higher knowledge as superstition leaves us vulnerable. This isn't about blind faith, but about discerning wisdom, cultivating an expansive worldview that integrates the seen with the unseen, the rational with the mystical. It's an ongoing process of intellectual and spiritual curiosity that guards against narrow-mindedness and the spiritual stagnation that can accompany it. Consider the spiritual significance of sacrifice, not in the sense of self-denial for its own sake, but the conscious choice to relinquish something lesser for something greater. To sacrifice personal comfort for the welfare of others, to let go of ego-driven desires for a higher purpose, or to surrender attachment to material outcomes for spiritual growth. These moments of selfless giving or surrender are not losses, but profound spiritual investments that elevate both the individual and the collective. The concept of divine timing also provides a framework for navigating this spiritual battle. Often in our human impatience, we want immediate results, immediate resolution to conflicts, and immediate manifestation of our desires. Understanding this allows for a profound sense of patience, trust, and surrender to a higher plan. It means recognizing that some battles are not ours to win alone, but part of a larger divine orchestration. This perspective frees us from the anxiety of control, allowing us to focus on our role with faith, knowing that the ultimate outcome rests in a wisdom far greater than our own. Moreover, the spiritual war is a constant invitation to self-mastery. The ability to govern our own thoughts, emotions, and impulses is not merely psychological, it is profoundly spiritual. When we react impulsively, when we allow our fears or anger to dictate our actions, we open ourselves to manipulation. When we cultivate self-control, when we choose conscious response over knee-jerk reaction, we assert our spiritual sovereignty. This mastery isn't about repression, but about conscious redirection, transforming lower energies into higher ones, refining our inner landscape into a fortress of peace and strength. Practices like fasting, conscious breathing, and meditation are tools for this self-mastery, training the will and purifying the spirit. Actively pursuing healing, whether through therapy, spiritual practices, or holistic medicine, is an act of reclaiming one's energetic integrity. It's about closing those openings, clearing stagnant energies, and restoring balance within the body, mind, and spirit. This commitment to holistic well being is a powerful defensive and offensive strategy, ensuring that one operates from a place of strength rather than vulnerability. The importance of sacred symbols and rituals also comes into play. From ancient amulets and prayer beads to modern spiritual practices, humans have always sought tangible ways to connect with unseen forces and invoke protection. These aren't superstitions. They are tools, focal points for intention, and conduits for spiritual energy. Whether it's a cross, a Star of David, a mala, a specific mantra, or a ceremonial gathering, these elements help to anchor our consciousness, amplify our prayers, and create a visible manifestation of our spiritual allegiance. They serve as reminders of our purpose and as energetic shields in a turbulent world. Consider the profound spiritual power of gratitude as a weapon against despair. Despair, cynicism, and a focus on lack are fertile grounds for negative spiritual influences. Gratitude, however, shifts our energetic frequency. When we consciously appreciate the blessings in our lives, no matter how small, we generate a powerful, positive resonance. This isn't about ignoring suffering, but about acknowledging the inherent goodness and abundance that coexist with challenges. A heart filled with gratitude becomes a lighthouse, radiating light and attracting more blessings, making it difficult for darkness to find a foothold. It's an active choice to align with the flow of benevolence. The spiritual battle also hinges on our understanding of karma, or the law of cause and effect. Every action, thought, and word carries an energetic signature that reverberates throughout the cosmos. This isn't a punitive system, but a self-regulating spiritual law. Understanding this compels us to act with greater integrity and compassion, knowing that our choices contribute not only to our immediate circumstances, but also to the larger spiritual ecosystem. It transforms our responsibility from a burden into an empowering realization that we are constantly shaping our reality and contributing to the spiritual landscape of the world. Furthermore, the spiritual war is waged in the ongoing pursuit of self-awareness. The ability to honestly examine our own motives, biases, and unconscious patterns of behavior is essential. Negative spiritual forces often operate by exploiting our blind spots, our unhealed wounds, and our unexamined prejudices. By shining the light of self-awareness into these hidden corners, we reclaim power and autonomy. This can be a challenging process, requiring humility and courage, but it is a vital step in becoming less susceptible to external manipulation and more aligned with our true, authentic self. This leads us to the concept of spiritual sovereignty. It is the realization that no external force, spiritual or otherwise, has power over us without our consent. We are endowed with free will, the ultimate spiritual weapon. The choice to align with light, to cultivate love, and to pursue truth is an act of asserting our divine sovereignty. It means taking full responsibility for our inner landscape, refusing to relinquish our power to fear, external pressures, or perceived adversaries. This inner declaration of independence is a potent force, sealing our energetic field and making us impenetrable to unwelcome influences. The spiritual war also has an ecological dimension. Many indigenous traditions and spiritual teachings emphasize the interconnectedness of all life and the sacredness of the earth. Damage to the environment, exploitation of natural resources, and disrespect for the living planet are not just economic or scientific problems. They are spiritual affronts, manifestations of a disconnection from the divine matrix of life. To act as stewards of the earth, to advocate for ecological balance, and to honor the sacredness of nature is to participate in the healing and restoration of the planet, aligning with the benevolent forces that seek harmony and abundance for all living things. It's an act of collective spiritual responsibility. Ultimately, the spiritual battle is not about fear, it's about love. Fear is the primary tool of the adversary, seeking to paralyze, divide, and diminish. Love, in its purest form, is the ultimate counterforce. It is the unifying energy, the source of all creation, and the inherent nature of the divine. To choose love in every moment, to extend compassion, To practice forgiveness and to live with an open heart is to actively dissolve the power of darkness. This isn't passive sentimentality, it is a dynamic, courageous, and transformative force that reshapes reality. Therefore, the ongoing cosmic conflict invites us to live consciously, courageously, and compassionately. It demands our full presence, our unwavering integrity, and our active participation. It transforms our daily lives from mundane routines into a purposeful journey, a grand adventure where every choice matters, every thought has weight, and every act of kindness sends ripples of light into the unseen realms. The spiritual war, far from being a distant, abstract concept, is intimately woven into the fabric of our existence. It is the subtle whispers in the quiet hours, the grand movements that reshape societies, and the eternal dance between light and shadow. But in this dance, you are not merely a spectator. You are a dancer, a warrior, and a beacon. Your very essence is a point of light in the vast cosmos, and your choices determine the intensity and direction of that light. The question is not whether the battle is raging, but how you choose to engage. Will you be a passive recipient of its currents, or an active shaper of its tides? Will you succumb to the shadows that seek to dim your inner radiance, or will you ignite your light and become a force for truth, love, and transformation? The power to choose is your ultimate spiritual weapon. Wield it wisely, for the world, both seen and unseen, is waiting for you to fully step into your power, to embody the light you are meant to be, and to play your indispensable part in the ultimate triumph of goodness. The victory is not just possible, it is within your grasp, moment by conscious moment. The battle continues, and your role is vital. The battle continues, and your role is vital. So, what does it truly mean to embrace this role, to become a conscious participant rather than a passive observer in this grand cosmic drama? It means recognizing that the battlefield is not just external, but profoundly internal. The forces of light and shadow, though often perceived as outside entities, find their most crucial arena within the very landscape of our own consciousness. To engage effectively, we must first understand the fundamental nature of the conflict within. It is often a battle between the higher self and the lower self, between the ego's demands and the soul's whisper, between the fear-based narratives and the love-centered truths. The external spiritual forces, both benevolent and malevolent, often amplify these internal struggles, pushing us towards alignment with one polarity or the other. One of the most powerful practices for cultivating this inner fortress is meditation. More than just relaxation, meditation, in this context, is a spiritual discipline designed to still the turbulent waters of the mind, allowing us to discern the true source of our thoughts and emotions. By observing the incessant chatter, the intrusive doubts, and the seductive temptations without judgment, we begin to create a space between ourselves and these influences. This space is where true freedom lies, the freedom to choose which thoughts to entertain, which emotions to amplify, and which impulses to follow. It's a training ground for the spiritual warrior, sharpening discernment and strengthening the will to align with the higher self. Complementing meditation is the practice of contemplation. This is not about passive reflection, but active engagement with profound truths. It involves deeply pondering spiritual principles, sacred texts, or inspiring teachings, allowing them to penetrate beyond intellectual understanding into the very core of our being. This process builds an inner sanctuary, a mental and emotional environment where the forces of light find fertile ground, making it more challenging for negativity to take root. The battle also hinges on our relationship with fear. Fear is a primal human emotion, a necessary instinct for survival. But when fear becomes chronic, pervasive, and irrational, it transforms into a powerful tool for spiritual opposition. It paralyzes action, generates division, and obscures truth. Overcoming fear, then, is not about denying its existence, but about consciously choosing courage, faith, and love in its presence. It's about recognizing fear's insidious whispers as attempts to derail our spiritual journey and deliberately responding with trust in a higher power and our own inner resilience. Every time we choose to act despite fear, we score a significant victory in the unseen war. Consider the role of humor and joy. These might seem frivolous in the context of a cosmic battle, yet they are potent spiritual weapons. Forces of darkness thrive on seriousness, despair, and heaviness. Joy, laughter, and lightheartedness, conversely, are expressions of vibrant life force, an affirmation of goodness that dissolves tension and transmutes negativity. To intentionally cultivate joy, to find reasons for laughter even in challenging times, is an act of spiritual defiance, a refusal to succumb to the gravitational pull of darkness. It strengthens our energetic field, making us less susceptible to the draining effects of negative influences. The ongoing spiritual war also manifests in the constant assault on our sense of worth. From an early age, many are programmed with feelings of inadequacy, unworthiness, or guilt. These beliefs are like open wounds, vulnerable points that malevolent forces can exploit to diminish our light and prevent us from fully embracing our divine potential. Reclaiming our inherent worth, understanding that we are beloved, valuable, and created with purpose, is a crucial act of spiritual self-defense. It's about dismantling the internal narratives of self-condemnation and replacing them with self-love, self-acceptance, and a profound appreciation for our unique contribution to the world. Furthermore, the spiritual battle calls us to engage with transcendence. This means consciously seeking experiences that lift us beyond the mundane, beyond the immediate concerns of ego and personality. It could be through immersion in nature, experiencing awe in the presence of beauty, listening to inspiring music, or engaging in acts of selfless service. These moments of transcendence offer glimpses of a higher reality, reminding us of our interconnectedness with all life and with the divine. They expand our consciousness, broaden our perspective, and infuse us with a sense of purpose that far outweighs the anxieties of the material world. The concept of divine protection is also central to navigating this unseen conflict. For believers, this isn't a passive wish, but an active invocation and trust. It involves consciously inviting benevolent spiritual forces, angels, or the divine itself to surround us with a shield of light, to guide our steps, and to protect us from harm. This practice of conscious invocation creates a powerful, energetic boundary, deterring negative influences and amplifying our own inner resilience. It's a surrender, not of power, but of the burden of fighting alone, recognizing that we are part of a larger, supportive spiritual family. This profound understanding of spiritual warfare also requires a conscious effort to release attachment to outcomes. Often, we fight battles with specific results in mind, and when those results don't materialize as expected, despair can set in. However, in the spiritual realm, victory is often measured not by immediate external results, but by the integrity of our intentions, the purity of our hearts, and our unwavering commitment to truth and love. When we release the need to control the outcome and focus instead on aligning with divine will and acting from our highest self, we free ourselves from the emotional roller coaster of expectation and disappointment, allowing for a deeper, more profound spiritual victory to unfold, often in ways we could not have anticipated. The spiritual warrior also practices non-judgment. While discernment is vital for recognizing energies and influences, judgment of others creates separation, perpetuates negativity, and aligns us with the very divisive forces we seek to overcome. Non-judgment is a radical act of empathy and understanding, recognizing that everyone is on their own unique journey, often grappling with their own internal battles. It's about seeing beyond the surface, extending compassion, and understanding that ultimate judgment belongs to a higher power. This practice cultivates an open heart, making us more resilient to the insidious whispers of prejudice and hatred. Consider the role of rest and renewal. The spiritual battle is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Constant engagement without periods of rest and spiritual replenishment leads to burnout, exhaustion, and vulnerability. Consciously prioritizing self care, adequate sleep, nourishing food, time in nature, moments of quiet reflection, and disconnection from the constant demands of the world is not selfish. It is a vital part of spiritual strategy. It's about recharging our energetic batteries, ensuring that we remain vibrant, clear, and strong enough to continue the fight with unwavering resolve. Ultimately, this ongoing cosmic conflict is an invitation to live a life of profound purpose. When we understand that our existence is not random, but an integral part of a grander narrative, every moment takes on heightened significance. Our individual lives become crucibles for spiritual growth, arenas for choosing light over shadow, and opportunities to contribute to the collective evolution of consciousness. This sense of purpose transforms challenges into opportunities for growth, setbacks into lessons, and struggles into catalysts for deeper wisdom. The spiritual war, therefore, is not a battle to be feared, but a journey to be embraced with courage, consciousness, and an open heart. Your existence is a testament to the power of creation, and your conscious engagement in this unseen conflict is your highest calling. So, as you navigate the complexities of your daily life, remember the invisible drama unfolding around and within you. Recognize the subtle nudges, the persistent doubts, the sudden inspirations. Cultivate your inner sanctuary, hone your discernment, and wield the mighty weapons of love, truth, and compassion. For in this grand, eternal struggle, your light is desperately needed, and your conscious participation is the most powerful force for good in the cosmos. The choice, moment by moment, is always yours to make, and in that choice lies the ultimate victory, not just for yourself, but for the soul of humanity and the triumph of light over all that seeks to diminish it. It is a legacy waiting to be forged, and the time for your full awakening is now.